At 14, Ethan already carried a maturity unusual for his age. On a bright autumn afternoon, as he walked down the bustling main avenue of the city, his attention was drawn to an uncomfortable scene in front of a local restaurant known for its homemade dishes. In front of the establishment, an elderly couple, dressed in simple but clean clothes, faced the stern gaze and harsh words of Rick, the restaurant owner. Rick, a burly man with a voice that echoed power and impatience, gestured exaggeratedly, his words cutting through the air like sharp blades. "And I'll say it again, if you can't pay, you shouldn't eat at places like mine. This isn't charity, it's a business," Rick said, pointing a threatening finger at the couple, who shrank further with each word. Evelyn, the woman with white hair and tearful eyes, tried to explain. "Please, sir, I swear we brought the money. It must have fallen somewhere. Just give us a moment to look." Henry, beside her, with a worn hat and trembling hands, searched his empty pockets, the despair growing on his weathered face. "It might have fallen out when we got out of the taxi, Evelyn," he whispered, his voice weak with worry. It was then that Ethan, driven by a surge of justice and compassion, approached the group. His youthful presence contrasted with the tension of the moment. With surprising determination, he interrupted the heated argument. "Sir, this isn't right. You can't treat them this way. They are elderly, and it clearly wasn't intentional," Ethan said, facing Rick with a firmness that made the man hesitate. Rick, taken aback by the interruption, turned to Ethan with a mix of irritation and disdain. "And who are you?" "Their lawyer." "Don't get involved where you're not called, kid." Ethan, ignoring Rick's tone, continued, "I will pay their bill." "How much is it?" His heart raced, but his voice remained calm and decisive. Rick's expression softened slightly, realizing the opportunity to resolve the situation without further complications. "It's $25, he replied, crossing his arms as he watched Ethan pull out the money from his wallet. The couple looked at Ethan with a mix of gratitude and surprise. Evelyn, with tears in her eyes, held Ethan's hand. "Oh dear, you didn't have to. We'll find the money." "Don't worry about it," Ethan said with a gentle smile. "Consider it a gift. Everyone needs help sometimes." After paying the bill, Ethan helped the couple away from the restaurant, his own thoughts swirling about the birthday gift he intended to buy for Alice. He knew the money he had just used was meant for that, but something inside him said he had made the right choice. Taking a deep breath, he prepared to face the consequences of his act of kindness, knowing that the next day would bring its own set of challenges and perhaps disappointments. The next day, the sky was clear, and the sun shone with an intensity that seemed to celebrate Alice's special day. However, Ethan walked towards her house with a heavy feeling in his stomach. His wallet was empty, as were his hands, which should have been holding a gift for her. Upon arriving, Alice's house was vibrant with loud music and laughter. Colorful balloons and bright garlands decorated the garden, announcing the celebration. He took a deep breath before entering, trying to prepare his heart for the possible consequences of his decision. Inside, the party was in full swing. Alice, radiant in a sky-blue dress, was surrounded by friends, laughing and dancing. Ethan approached hesitantly, his heart pounding in his chest. When Alice saw him, her smile faltered for a moment before she recomposed herself and walked up to him. "Ethan, you made it. Where's my present?" Alice asked with a hopeful smile, looking around him, searching for something in his hands. Ethan swallowed hard, the discomfort clear in his eyes. "Alice, I need to talk to you. Can we speak privately?" His voice was soft but carried an urgency that made Alice frown, curious and a little worried. They moved away from the other guests, finding a quiet corner in the garden. Ethan took a deep breath before speaking. "Alice, I couldn't buy your gift." Alice's face instantly changed, her eyebrows knitting together in confusion and disappointment. "What do you mean you didn't buy it?" "Ethan, you know today is a very important day for me," she said, her voice rising slightly. "And I know, and I really wanted to bring something special for you," Ethan began, trying to keep his composure. But yesterday, something happened. There was an elderly couple being treated very badly because they couldn't pay their bill at a restaurant. I felt I needed to help. Alice listened, but her expression increasingly closed off. So, you used the money for my present to pay the bill for two strangers? Her voice was incredulous, mixing irritation and embarrassment. Ethan nodded. Yes, I did because it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. I didn't want their day to end badly over something as small as money. Alice crossed her arms, her posture stiffening and her eyes growing cold. Ethan, I get being kind and all, but today was about us. You knew how much I was looking forward to this day. How could you think it was okay to show up here with nothing? You made me so embarrassed. The discussion began to draw some curious looks from other guests. Ethan felt everyone's eyes on them, adding to the tension of the moment. Ethan, I can't be with someone who doesn't think about the consequences of their actions, someone who puts strangers before their own girlfriend on her birthday, Alice continued, each word a blow to Ethan. I need someone who understands what's important to me too. With a heavy heart and knowing he couldn't change her mind at that moment, Ethan just nodded. I'm sorry, Alice. I really am. I just thought I was doing the right thing. Alice shook her head, clearly disappointed. I think it's best if we end things here, she said coldly, before turning and walking back to the party, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts and a broken heart. Ethan stood there, watching the woman he thought he knew, now walking away from him. The weight of his decision and the consequence of his actions left him in a reflective state, as he pondered the real value of human relations and the complexity of the choices we make. In the days following his painful breakup with Alice, Ethan found himself aimlessly wandering the city streets, trying to clear his thoughts and lighten the weight on his heart. On one of those gray afternoons of reflection, his attention was captured by the sound of cans clattering together. A few meters ahead, in the corner of an abandoned parking lot, he spotted Evelyn and Henry, the elderly couple he had helped at the restaurant. They were meticulously sorting cans and bottles from a pile of recyclables, clearly committed to collecting enough to sell. The melancholic sound of their hard work deeply moved Ethan, and he approached with a mix of sadness and respect. Mr. Henry, Mrs. Evelyn, Ethan called out gently, not wanting to startle them. Evelyn looked up, her eyes lighting up in recognition of Ethan. Oh, Ethan! What a surprise to see you here, she said with a warm smile, despite the circumstances. Henry, wiping his hands on an old cloth, joined her with a nod. Ethan, my boy, how are you? He asked, his voice marked with genuine concern. Ethan sighed, a faint sad smile adorning his face. I'm well, I guess. How about you? What are you doing here? He asked, glancing at the bags of recyclables. Evelyn exchanged a meaningful look with Henry before responding. We're trying to gather some money. Things have been a bit tight lately, she explained, her tone revealing a mix of embarrassment and determination. It was then that Henry, with a heavy sigh, added, We heard about what happened with you and your girlfriend, Ethan. We're so sorry our situation contributed to your troubles. Ethan shook his head, quickly interrupting. No, please don't think that way. What I did because I thought it was right. It wasn't your fault. And I would do it all over again, he said, his voice firm and full of conviction. Evelyn stepped closer to Ethan, placing a wrinkled hand over his. You're a very good young man, Ethan. We feel blessed to have met you, even under such unfortunate circumstances. They talked for a few more minutes, and Ethan ended up helping them collect and organize the recyclables. As they worked, Evelyn and Henry shared stories of their lives, talking about the highs and lows, the joys and struggles. Ethan listened intently, finding a strange peace in their stories of resilience and persistence. You know, Ethan began as he tied up a bag full of cans, I've learned a lot from you. About kindness, about doing what's right, even when it's hard. Henry smiled, his eyes shining with a mix of pride and sadness. And we've learned a lot from you, Ethan. Your generosity and courage have shown us that there is still kindness in the world." As the evening drew to a close and the sun began to set, coloring the sky orange and purple, Ethan bid farewell to Evelyn and Henry, promising to visit them again. He left the parking lot feeling a bit lighter, a bit more hopeful, as if somehow the connection he had formed with the elderly couple was helping him heal. As Ethan walked away, reflecting on the day's encounters and the lessons learned, he could hardly imagine how these new friends would further impact his life in the days to come. A few days after his comforting encounter with Evelyn and Henry, Ethan was passing by the same restaurant where the elderly couple had been humiliated. The memories of that day made him hesitate in front of the entrance, and that's when he saw Lucas, a friend who worked as a waiter there. Lucas, noticing Ethan standing outside, waved him in. With a worried look and an urgent tone, he pulled Ethan to a more secluded corner of the restaurant. "Ethan, I need to tell you something important," Lucas whispered, glancing around to make sure no one could hear them. Curious and a bit anxious, Ethan leaned in. "What happened, Lucas?" Lucas hesitated, biting his lower lip. "It's about the day the elderly couple was humiliated here. I saw something you should know." Ethan's heart raced. "What did you see?" Lucas took a deep breath before continuing. "Arnold, Rick's son and now Alice's boyfriend. I saw him pick something up off the floor just after the elderly couple left. It was their wallet, Ethan. He took the money and hid it." Ethan felt a wave of anger and disbelief. "Are you sure about this, Lucas? This is very serious." Lucas nodded, visibly nervous. I know. That's why I was hesitant to tell. I should have spoken up earlier, but I need this job, Ethan. If Rick finds out I said something, I could lose everything." Ethan ran his hands through his hair, frustrated. "Lucas, this is theft. We should do something. Maybe go to the police." I can't, Ethan. Not without more proof. And even if we had it, I can't afford to be involved, Lucas replied, his voice laden with fear. Ethan pondered for a moment, weighing his options. The injustice was burning inside him, but he knew he needed to think carefully about his next steps. "Okay, I understand your position, but we can't let this go. I'll think of something that doesn't put you at risk." Lucas offered a weak smile, clearly relieved. "Thank you, Ethan. I really appreciate it." After saying goodbye to Lucas, Ethan walked aimlessly through the streets, his thoughts swirling around what he had just learned. Anger and frustration bubbled within him, but he knew he needed to keep a cool head. "Arnold needs to be held accountable somehow," he murmured to himself. As Ethan contemplated his next steps, an idea began to form in his mind. Perhaps there was a way to expose Arnold without putting Lucas in danger. He needed more information and perhaps a bit of extra help. Decided, Ethan knew the next step would be crucial, and he was determined to seek justice for Evelyn and Henry. In the days following, as Ethan devised a plan to deal with Arnold's situation, his home became a reflection of growing financial difficulties. His mother, Isabella, faced her own set of challenges. She came home exhausted every night, her expression laden with worry and fatigue. On a cold evening, while preparing a simple meal, Ethan watched his mother struggle to maintain composure. "Mom, you seem more tired than usual. Is everything okay at work?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice light. Isabella sighed, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea in her hands. "Oh, Ethan, things are complicated. The company is going through budget cuts and, honestly, I'm worried about losing my job. If that happens, I don't know what we'll do," she confessed, the concern evident in her tired eyes. Ethan felt a pang in his heart seeing the stress on his mother. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll find a job. We can get through this together," he said, trying to infuse confidence in his words. Over the following days, Ethan dedicated himself to job hunting. He spent hours online, sent out resumes, and attended job fairs, but the responses were disheartening. The economy was not favorable, and opportunities for a young person with little experience were scarce. On a sunny Saturday, after another frustrating interview, Ethan met his friend Lucas at the city park. "So, any good news?" Lucas asked, hopeful. Ethan shook his head, discouraged. "Nothing yet. It feels like for every door that opens, too close. I'm starting to get really worried," he admitted, throwing a stone into the lake, watching the circular ripples disperse. Lucas put an arm around Ethan's shoulders, offering support. "Man, something will come up. You're one of the most determined guys I know. Don't give up," Lucas encouraged. Ethan managed a weak smile. "I know, I just wish I could do more for my mom. She's been through so much." As they talked, an idea began to form in Ethan's mind. Maybe there were other ways to generate income that he hadn't considered. "You know, Lucas, maybe I'm looking in the wrong places. There might be other ways to make money that I haven't explored yet." Inspired by Lucas's support, Ethan spent the rest of the day researching alternative income opportunities. He looked into freelancing, small businesses he could start with little capital, and even considered using his skills in art to sell products online. Returning home that evening, he shared his new ideas with Isabella, who smiled for the first time in weeks. "I'm so proud of you, Ethan. Your resilience and creativity are truly inspiring," she said, embracing him. Energized by renewed determination and his mother's support, Ethan began to put his plans into action. He knew the challenges ahead were formidable, but he was ready to face them. Months had passed since Ethan began exploring new ways to generate income, and though he still faced challenges, his spirit was indomitable. On a particularly special evening, he and his mother, Isabella, decided to celebrate her birthday at the same restaurant where so many significant events had occurred. The atmosphere was joyful, with soft music playing in the background and dim lights giving the place an intimate feel. Isabella, radiant and elegantly dressed, smiled as Ethan led her to their reserved table. "You didn't have to do this, Ethan," she said, touching her son's arm affectionately. "Mom, today is your day. You deserve all the best," Ethan replied with a smile, happy to see his mother enjoying the moment. They had just sat down when, unexpectedly, Alice and Arnold entered the restaurant. Alice, always flashy, wore a dress that drew attention, while Arnold carried an air of superiority. Ethan felt a twinge of discomfort seeing them but remained calm and focused on his mother. However, it wasn't long before Alice noticed Ethan and approached with a malicious smile, Arnold in tow. "Ethan, what a surprise to find you here," said Alice, her voice tinged with feigned sweetness. "Did you save up for months to bring your mother here?" Arnold laughed, an unpleasant sound that echoed through the space. "Or perhaps he got a promotion at his little venture," he mocked, crossing his arms and looking Ethan up and down. Ethan faced them, his patience tested, but his response was measured and firm. "Alice, Arnold, good evening. We're here to celebrate a very special birthday, and I'd prefer to keep this evening positive," he said, his voice calm but assertive, looking them straight in the eyes. Alice seemed slightly unsettled by Ethan's composed response, but tried to maintain her composure. "Oh, of course, we wouldn't want to spoil your celebratory dinner," she said, but the sarcasm in her voice was evident. "Enjoy your evening," she added before pulling Arnold toward another part of the restaurant. Isabella, who had been watching the exchange with a look of disapproval, squeezed Ethan's hand. "Don't let them ruin our moment, dear. Today is about us, our family, and the many blessings we have." Ethan nodded, smiling at his mother. "You're absolutely right, Mom. Let's enjoy every minute." The rest of the evening went smoothly, with Ethan and Isabella enjoying a delicious meal and conversations about future dreams and plans. As they celebrated, the resilience and shared love further strengthened the bond between mother and son. As the night drew to a close and the last customers began to leave the restaurant, Ethan reflected on the twists of life. He knew the challenges were not over and that each experience was an opportunity for growth. Preparing for the next steps of his journey, he was determined to face whatever came next, armed with the wisdom gained and the unwavering support of his mother. As days turned into weeks, Ethan continued to strive to maintain financial stability at home. The struggle was tough, and despite his efforts, bills began to pile up, making the days heavier and the nights longer. On a cloudy Tuesday afternoon, as Ethan walked through the central park of the city trying to clear his mind, he spotted two familiar figures sitting on a bench near the lake, Evelyn and Henry. The couple seemed to be in an animated conversation, but upon seeing Ethan, they enthusiastically waved him over. Ethan quickened his step, a smile forming on his face as he reunited with friends who had been part of so many significant moments in his life. "Evelyn, Henry, what a pleasant surprise to find you here." Evelyn stood up and gave Ethan a warm hug. "Dear, we're so happy to see you. How are you?" she asked, her worried gaze examining Ethan's face. Henry, with a gentle smile, reached out to shake his hand. "Yes, Ethan, tell us about yourself. It seems like you've been carrying the world on your shoulders." Ethan sighed, sitting down beside them. "It's been tough, I confess. Things at home are tight, and I'm trying to find more work, but it hasn't been easy," he revealed, his voice laden with fatigue. Evelyn and Henry exchanged a significant look before Henry spoke. "Ethan, we have something to tell you. Something we've never shared with you before." Curious, Ethan leaned forward. "What is it?" Evelyn took over. "Dear, when you helped us that day at the restaurant, we were living a sort of experiment. Actually, we have sufficient financial resources. More than sufficient." Ethan's eyes widened, surprised. "You are wealthy?" Henry nodded. "Yes, we are. But we live simply to better understand the people around us and to find someone who truly deserved our trust and help." Ethan was speechless, processing the revelation. Before he could respond, Evelyn continued, "And we want to offer you an opportunity, Ethan. An opportunity to work with us, to learn about business, and eventually, to take on a significant role in our enterprises." Henry added, "We've seen your kindness, your integrity, and your strength, even in the face of adversity. We want to invest in you, help educate you, and guide you." Ethan felt a mix of shock and gratitude. I don't even know what to say. That would be amazing, but why me?" "Because you have something that can't be taught, Ethan, a generous heart and strong character," said Evelyn, smiling affectionately. Henry extended a folder to Ethan. "Think of this as our investment in the future. In your future. If you're interested, there are documents here that explain everything the position entails and how we plan to proceed." Ethan took the folder, still in shock. "I accept. I can't thank you enough for this chance." "Don't thank us, Ethan. Prove we were right," said Henry, with a gleam of expectation in his eyes. With a new sense of purpose and a surprising path unfolding before him, Ethan bid farewell to Evelyn and Henry, promising to meet with them soon to discuss the details. As he walked away, his heart was light, and for the first time in a long time, he felt that a new chapter was beginning, one filled with possibilities and learning. Evelyn and Henry's offer not only opened a new door for Ethan, but also illuminated a path he had never imagined pursuing. With a mix of excitement and nervousness, Ethan prepared for his first day at their company, a reputable corporation with interests in various areas, from real estate to philanthropy. On a sunny Monday morning, Ethan dressed in his best suit, a gift from his mother, and walked to the large glass building that housed Evelyn and Henry's company. Upon entering, he was greeted by the warm smile of an assistant who was already expecting him. "Mr. Ethan, welcome. Mr. Henry and Mrs. Evelyn are eager to start the day with you. Please follow me," she said, guiding him through a flawlessly decorated corridor to a spacious office at the top of the building. Evelyn and Henry welcomed Ethan with warmth that belied the formality of the setting. "Ethan, we are so glad you accepted our offer," said Evelyn, her eyes twinkling. Henry gestured for Ethan to sit down. "Let's start by giving you an overview of our business and discuss where you might fit best. We are confident that you will bring freshness and new ideas." The first days were intense and informative. Ethan was introduced to the various divisions of the company, learning about daily operations, financial management, and the social initiatives that formed the heart of Evelyn and Henry's business philosophy. Each team member, aware of his story and how he came to be there, treated Ethan with a mix of curiosity and respect. Over the weeks, Ethan worked closely with different department managers, absorbing information like a sponge and applying his unwavering work ethic. Soon, he began contributing ideas that were well received, earning the admiration and support of his colleagues and superiors. One afternoon, as he was reviewing a charity expansion project he had proposed, Henry entered his office with a proud smile. "Ethan, I've been following your progress, and I must say, I'm impressed. Your proposal to expand our affordable housing initiative is innovative. I believe you are ready to take on more responsibility." Ethan looked up at Henry, gratitude and pride evident on his face. "Thank you, Henry. I am truly grateful for the opportunity you've given me. I promise to continue doing my best." Henry placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "And that's all we ask. Evelyn and I discussed, and we would like you to lead the implementation of this project. It's a big task, but we believe in you." As Ethan took on more responsibilities, his understanding of the business deepened, as did his appreciation for Evelyn and Henry's long-term vision. He was not only adapting to the company culture but also beginning to shape it, bringing new energy and perspective that resonated throughout the organization. As Ethan continued to grow and thrive in the company, his personal life also reflected this transformation. With his new position, he was able to provide better for his mother, alleviating many of the financial worries that had shadowed their earlier days. Each success at work was a reminder of his journey, the adversities he had overcome, and the lessons he had learned from each person who had touched his life. On the eve of a major project launch, as the sun set behind distant hills, Ethan stood in his office, looking out at the horizon. He felt ready to face any future challenges, armed with knowledge, experience, and an unshakable support network. Little did he know, however, that the next chapter would bring unforeseen challenges and opportunities that would test his resolve and shape his future in ways he could never have imagined. As the years unfolded, Ethan solidified his position as a central figure in Evelyn and Henry's company. Under his leadership, several innovative projects achieved success, reflecting his vision and dedication. The trust Evelyn and Henry placed in him not only shaped his career but also deepened the bonds they shared, making them more than mentors. They were almost family. On a chilly autumn morning, as Ethan was reviewing documents for the company's next big initiative, the phone rang. The abrupt sound seemed like an omen in the silence of his meticulously organized office. It was a call Ethan never expected to receive. "Ethan, you need to come to the hospital immediately." The voice on the other end was Claire's, Evelyn and Henry's longtime personal assistant. Her voice was choked up, urgent. Without hesitation, Ethan dropped everything and rushed to the hospital, his heart tight with a grim premonition. Upon arrival, he found Claire in the lobby, her eyes red and swollen. "What happened, Claire?" Ethan asked, dreading the answer. Claire took a moment to compose herself before speaking. "Evelyn, she had a heart attack this morning. And Henry, he couldn't handle the news. He also..." Her words dissolved into sobs. Ethan felt the ground fall away beneath him. "Both," he murmured in disbelief. The hospital walls seemed to close in on him as he followed Claire to the rooms where Evelyn and Henry lay. Walking through the hospital doors where Evelyn and Henry had spent their final hours felt like stepping into a parallel world. Ethan could hardly believe that the two people who had been his rock and guide were now silent. In Evelyn's room, he held her hand, still warm, remembering all the time she had held his, guiding him with wisdom and kindness. In the next room, Henry appeared to be just sleeping, a peaceful expression masking the finality of his departure. Ethan sat by his bed, memories of their advice, laughter, and even shared challenges filling his mind like a movie. In the days that followed, Ethan could barely focus on daily tasks. The company, though still running efficiently, felt empty without Evelyn and Henry's presence. Ethan found himself walking to their offices multiple times, hoping, for a moment, to see them there, ready with a new project or friendly advice. The funeral was a testament to the profound impact Evelyn and Henry had on the community and beyond. The tributes were so numerous and heartfelt that Ethan felt a mix of deep pride and pain. Pride for the indelible legacy his mentors left behind, and pain for the immense personal loss. After the funeral, Ethan found himself in Henry's office, surrounded by the objects he loved. Books, photos from trips, and a plant Henry insisted had purifying powers. Sitting in Henry's chair, Ethan reflected on the future. With the company now under his leadership, the responsibility was immense. "I need to continue what they started, honor the trust they placed in me," Ethan spoke aloud to the empty room. With renewed determination, he began to plan the next steps, knowing that each decision would now reflect not just his judgment but also the legacy of Evelyn and Henry. As Ethan prepared to face the world without his guides, he did not know that the next chapter would bring challenges and revelations that would test his resilience in ways he had never imagined. After weeks navigating the turbulent waters of grief and growing responsibility, Ethan was summoned to the office of Evelyn and Henry's lawyer for a meeting that promised to be enlightening. The large office, with its shelves full of books and imposing diplomas, always commanded a certain reverence, but that afternoon, Ethan felt a peculiar mix of anticipation and nervousness. "Ethan, thank you for coming," said Mr. Thompson, the lawyer, with a cordial nod as he gestured to a chair. "There are significant matters related to Evelyn and Henry's will that we need to discuss." Ethan sat down, straightening himself in the chair. "Of course, Mr. Thompson. I'm ready to listen." Mr. Thompson opened a folder, pulling out some documents before beginning. "As you know, Evelyn and Henry had no children, and over the years, they came to see you not just as a protege but almost as a son. Their will reflects this deep connection and trust." Ethan listened, his heart beating a little faster with each word. "They left very clear instructions," continued the lawyer, adjusting his glasses. "Ethan, Evelyn, and Henry have left you the entirety of their estate. This includes all business holdings, properties, and investments. They firmly believed that you are the most qualified person to perpetuate the values and vision they cherished." For a moment, Ethan felt breathless. The magnitude of what was being said seemed surreal. I inherited everything?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. "Yes, Ethan. Everything," confirmed Mr. Thompson, passing the documents to him. "They expressed in their will that your ethics, compassion, and leadership are what they valued most and wished to continue guiding the empire they built." Ethan flipped through the documents, each page a testament to the love and trust Evelyn and Henry had for him. "I don't know what to say, Mr. Thompson. It's a tremendous responsibility." "It is, indeed. But they believed in you, Ethan. They had no doubt that you would honor and expand their legacy with the same integrity with which they conducted their lives and business," said Mr. Thompson with an encouraging smile. Walking out of the lawyer's office with a folder of documents under his arm, Ethan felt both the weight and warmth of the legacy he now carried. Evelyn and Henry had changed his life in ways he could never have imagined, and now it was his turn to build something that would make them proud. In the days that followed, as Ethan began to take the reins of the vast empire, he often thought about the values that Evelyn and Henry had embodied. Each decision he made was a reflection of their lessons and the love they shared with him. As Ethan prepared to lead the company into a new era, he knew that journeys of love, loss, and legacy are never linear. Armed with the confidence of his mentors and his own instincts, he was ready to face the future challenges. But he was still unaware that the next phase would bring new twists and a reunion that would test his ability to maintain the legacy while navigating his own passions and the return of figures from his past. As news of Ethan's colossal inheritance spread throughout the community and beyond, he found himself catapulted not only into the spotlight of local fame, but also into the scrutiny and expectations that came with such visibility. He dealt with new challenges and responsibilities daily, but nothing prepared him for a reunion with figures from his past. On a Tuesday afternoon, while Ethan was reviewing reports in the office that once belonged to Henry, his assistant announced an unexpected visitor. "Mr. Ethan, sorry to interrupt, but Miss Alice Miller is here to see you. She says it's urgent." Ethan, surprised, quickly looked up. "Alice?" "Yes, of course. Send her in." Moments later, Alice entered the office, visibly more mature but still with the same presence Ethan remembered. Her eyes scanned the luxurious office before settling on Ethan with a mix of nervousness and determination. "Ethan, it's good to see you," Alice began, her voice trembling slightly. "I heard about everything that's happened. Congratulations." Ethan, cautious but polite, thanked her. "Thank you, Alice. It's been a long time. What brings you here today?" Alice hesitated, seeming to choose her words carefully. I've been thinking a lot about us, about how things ended between us. I was wrong, Ethan. Very wrong," she confessed, looking down. Ethan watched her silently, weighing the sincerity of her words. "Alice, what exactly are you saying?" She looked up, meeting his gaze. "I was wondering if maybe we could start over, rekindle our friendship, maybe more. I really miss you." Ethan, feeling a mix of old emotions and the wisdom that years had brought him, kept his expression neutral. "Alice, I appreciate your honesty. But you mentioned this now because you heard about the inheritance." Alice shifted uncomfortably. No, that's not. I've really been thinking about our mistakes and—" Ethan cut her off, gentle but firm. "Alice, you only appeared after the news broke out. We haven't had any contact for years. Can you understand why I might be skeptical about your intentions?" She bit her lip, clearly struggling to maintain composure. "I understand how this might look, Ethan. But I swear this isn't about the money." Ethan took a deep breath, knowing deep down that his past with Alice was a chapter that should remain closed. "Alice, I wish you all the best. I really do. But I think it's better if we each go our own way. We've changed, and what we had ended a long time ago." Alice nodded slowly, a tear escaping her eyes. "I understand, Ethan. I'm sorry for coming here like this." With one last look, she turned and left the office, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts. In the silence that followed, Ethan reflected on how far he had come, the lessons learned, and the bridges he needed to leave behind. He knew more challenges and possibly more ghosts from the past would surface, but he was resolute in facing them with the dignity and integrity that Evelyn and Henry would have expected of him. As he prepared to close the day, Ethan thought about the next steps for the company and his personal life, knowing that the decisions he made now would shape his future in ways he was only beginning to understand. After Alice revealed her true feelings, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. With the vast inheritance now under his control, he was determined not only to thrive in the business world, but also to make a significant difference in the lives of those around him, starting with his own mother. On a sunny morning, Ethan visited his mother, Isabella, at her modest home, where she had been struggling with bills and financial worries for years. He had planned this day carefully, wanting to ensure that every detail was perfect. "Mom," Ethan began, holding her hands affectionately as they sat at the old kitchen table. "I have some news." Isabella looked at him, an expression of curiosity mixed with concern on her face. "What's happened, Ethan? Is everything okay?" "Everything is more than okay, Mom," Ethan smiled. "I came here today to tell you that you no longer need to worry about money." Isabella blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. "What do you mean, Ethan?" Ethan exhaled, his emotion apparent. "With Evelyn and Henry's inheritance, I can now take care of all your debts. All of them, Mom. And not just that, but I want you to move to a new home, a house where you won't have to worry about repairs or rent." Tears formed in Isabella's eyes as she absorbed what Ethan was saying. "But Ethan, that's too much. I can't accept." "You can and you will," Ethan interrupted gently. "You've sacrificed so much for me over the years. It's time for you to rest and enjoy life without these worries. This is my gift to you." Overwhelmed with emotion, Isabella hugged Ethan. "I don't know what I did to deserve such a wonderful son," she whispered. With his mother's financial situation resolved, Ethan turned his attention to the community projects that meant so much to Evelyn and Henry. Inspired by their values and the evident need in his community, Ethan launched a series of initiatives focused on education and health. He established a scholarship program for young people in disadvantaged situations, wanting to offer others the chance to transform their lives through education. Additionally, he funded the construction of a health clinic in the neighborhood where he grew up, ensuring residents had access to quality medical care without worrying about cost. "These projects are just the beginning," Ethan told a team of journalists covering the clinic's opening. "I plan to use all the resources at my disposal to continue Evelyn and Henry's legacy. They believed in doing good, and I intend to honor that belief every day." As Ethan implemented these changes, he felt a deep satisfaction knowing he was making a difference. He had transformed his own life and was now helping to transform the lives of others, just as his mentors had done for him. However, as Ethan built this bright future for his community and family, new opportunities and challenges began to emerge on the horizon, promising to test his leadership and vision in ways he could never have anticipated. After solidifying his foundation in the community through high-impact projects, Ethan turned his gaze inward at the company, determined to instigate a transformation that reflected his values and those of Evelyn and Henry. He wanted the company to be not only profitable but also a model of integrity and social responsibility. On a bright Monday morning, Ethan convened a meeting with all department heads. The spacious conference room was packed, and the anticipation was palpable. "Thank you all for coming," Ethan began, projecting confidence and calm. "We are here today to talk about the future of our company and how each of us plays a crucial role in that vision." He paused, ensuring he had everyone's attention. "We're going to redefine our business practices. I want our company to be more than just a financial success. I want it to be a leader in social responsibility. This means being transparent, ethical, and investing back into the community that supports us." Murmurs of approval and some expressions of surprise swept through the room. Ethan continued, detailing new policies that included regular ethical audits, enhanced recycling programs, and a new partnership with local NGOs. As part of this initiative, we're launching a program that allows our employees to directly engage in community activities, with paid workdays dedicated to this. "I want everyone to feel that their work here not only benefits the bottom line, but also makes a real difference in the world." Lisa, the head of the marketing department, raised her hand, a look of curiosity on her face. "Ethan, how will these changes affect our short-term profit goals? Is there any risk of a negative impact?" Ethan nodded, appreciative of the question. "Excellent point, Lisa. It's true that some of these changes will require initial investments that might impact our profits in the short term. However, I believe that by building a reputation as a company that truly cares and implements sustainable practices, we'll attract customers who value that, which, in the long run, will strengthen our brand and our results." Another manager, Tom from Product Development, chimed in, "Ethan, this also means we'll have a competitive advantage in attracting talent that wants to work in a place that aligns their personal values with their business practices." "Exactly, Tom," Ethan responded, a smile forming. "And that's the kind of environment I want to cultivate here. A place where we not only work for ourselves, but also serve as a beacon of positivity and change." As the meeting progressed, Ethan outlined the strategy and resources that would be allocated for each new initiative. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with many leaders expressing excitement and readiness to embrace the new direction. In the following months, Ethan oversaw the implementation of these policies, and the transformation in the company's culture was noticeable. Teams were more motivated, and the company began to receive recognition for both its innovations and its ethical practices. As Ethan looked to the future, he knew there were challenges ahead, but he was also confident that the foundation they were building would lead the company to new heights of success and respect. He was not only fulfilling the legacy of Evelyn and Henry, but was creating his own. As he prepared to end the day, reflecting on the steps taken and those yet to come, Ethan could not foresee that the new era of success would also bring new challenges, testing his leadership and the company's values in ways that would require all his wisdom and dedication. With the company flourishing under its new vision of social responsibility, Ethan found himself more frequently at community events, representing the company and solidifying his presence as a compassionate leader in the community. It was at one of these events, a charity gala to raise funds for education, that he met Elisa, a passionate volunteer whose dedication was clearly evident. Elisa was coordinating the registration at the entrance when Ethan arrived. With a warm smile, she greeted him. "Good evening. Welcome to our annual event. We hope you find inspiration and joy tonight," she said, handing him a program. "Thank you," Ethan replied, impressed by her infectious energy. "It looks like you have everything under control here." Elisa laughed, a light and cheerful sound. "We do what we can. Every effort is worth it for a cause like this." She paused, glancing at Ethan's name tag. "Oh, you're Ethan. I've heard a lot about the wonderful work your company is doing in the community." Ethan, accustomed to being recognized more for his financial position than his personal efforts, felt a wave of gratitude for being seen so authentically. "Yes, that's me. We're trying to make a difference. And you, clearly, are deeply involved with these initiatives as well." Their conversation flowed naturally, and Ethan found himself genuinely interested in learning more about Elisa, not just about her volunteer work, but about who she was outside of that context. As the evening progressed, they shared stories about their lives, discovering a surprising connection and a resonance of values and dreams. Ethan was particularly touched when Elisa spoke about her belief in the power of education and community work as means to transform lives. "You know," said Elisa as they watched the guests dancing, "it's rare to find someone who not only talks about making changes but also makes them happen. You do that, Ethan. And that's admirable." Ethan felt humbled and delighted. And to have someone recognize that without seeing the dollar sign is even rarer, he confessed, his gaze meeting hers, a mutual understanding blossoming between them. In the months that followed, Ethan and Elisa began to see each other more often, their lives gradually intertwining in ways neither had anticipated. Ethan introduced Elisa to his mother, Isabella, who immediately saw what her son saw in her, a woman of substance, integrity, and a vibrant passion for life and the common good. Together, Ethan and Elisa began to plan a future that combined their passions for social responsibility and personal growth. Ethan had never felt so connected to someone who valued his heart and spirit more than his bank account. On a quiet afternoon in the park, as they walked hand in hand, Ethan stopped, looking at Elisa with a certainty only true love can bring. "Elisa, I never imagined I'd find someone who not only shares my dreams but also my desire to make a difference. You make me want to be the best man I can be." Elisa, with tears in her eyes and a smile that lit up her entire face, squeezed his hand. "And you've shown me that true success is measured by the love and impact we leave in the world, not by what we own." They knew the road ahead would have its challenges, but they also knew that together, they could face anything life threw at them. And as Ethan prepared to face new challenges and opportunities, he was certain of one thing. With Elisa by his side, he was already infinitely rich. Ethan stood at the center of an elegant event hall, watching as the final preparations for the charity gala were completed. Delicate flowers adorned each table, and photographs of Evelyn and Henry, capturing moments from their lives dedicated to service and kindness, were displayed throughout, invoking their memories and legacy. Tonight's event was special, a celebration and tribute to Evelyn and Henry, but also a milestone in Ethan's journey. He had planned every detail to reflect not just the respect and love he felt for his mentors, but also his gratitude for everything they had done for him. As guests began to arrive, Ethan greeted each one with a warm smile and welcoming words. Among those present were community leaders, business people, and many of the youths who had benefited from the scholarships his company now offered. "It's a wonderful night, Ethan," commented Elisa, approaching with 2 glasses of champagne, handing one to him. Evelyn and Henry would have been so proud. Ethan accepted the glass, his eyes sweeping the filled hall. I hope so. All of this, it's for them. They taught me the value of service and love. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Throughout the evening, Ethan made it a point to share stories of how Evelyn and Henry had touched his life. In his speech, before an attentive audience, he reflected on the night he helped the couple at the restaurant, an impulsive act of kindness that had triggered a series of transformative events. That night, I just knew I had to help, Ethan said into the microphone, his voice laden with emotion. I couldn't have imagined that such a simple gesture of paying a restaurant bill would pave the way for a life of opportunities and purpose. Evelyn and Henry saw something in me that I hadn't seen in myself yet. They gave me a chance, and with it, a reason to believe that we can make a difference. The guests listened, many with tears in their eyes, touched by the sincerity and passion of his words. Ethan talked about the projects that the company had initiated under his leadership, each reflecting the values that Evelyn and Henry had instilled in him. This event, besides raising funds, is a reminder that the true value of life isn't in what we own, but in the love we share and the lives we touch. Evelyn and Henry taught me that, and I hope to continue that legacy with every day I live. After the speech, as soft music filled the hall and people danced and laughed, Ethan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. He watched Elisa, who was animatedly talking to a scholarship recipient about her future plans, and felt a surge of gratitude. His journey, from that act of kindness to that night, was filled with learning and growth. And as the evening progressed, Ethan knew that each step he had taken, every decision he had made, had been guided by a sincere desire to do good, influenced by the generosity and love of two extraordinary people who had transformed his life. With a toast to the future and to new paths yet to be explored, Ethan celebrated not just the memory of his mentors, but also the ongoing impact of their actions, a chain of kindness that would continue to grow and flourish, far beyond his own life.
So, if you're not subscribed yet, click on the subscribe button below and join our community. Thank you for your support and see you in the next videos.